Here is exclusive video from Air 7 as the suspect, 29-year-old Eric Holder, is picked up by LAPD detectives at the sheriff's station in Lakewood. He was placed in an unmarked vehicle.
They went and shot up this family house. They wiped out his whole family. Baby mama, granny. Them dead. Like, they went and did John's that same day. Because why would you go somebody like Nipsey and then leave your mama and them on the block in the 60s? You supposed to get them up out of there before you even went to scope the scenery.
We in the doorway. When Hustle pull up, we in the doorway. You gonna see me with a hoodie on, and I got a pistol on me. You gonna see one of the team members in the hoodie in the doorway with a pistol. That's protocol.
It's been 5 long years since the streets of LA were shaken to their core. The world watched in shock as Nipsey Hussle, a local legend and icon in the community, was brutally gunned down right outside his Marathon clothing store. The tragedy didn't just hit Los Angeles, it sent ripples across the globe. Videos of Nipsey being rushed to the hospital exploded on social media, with fans and celebrities alike in disbelief, mourning the loss of a man who had inspired so many. Sadly, despite the world holding on to hope, Nipsey was pronounced dead shortly after the shooting, leaving a city and fans shattered. Fast forward to 2023, and justice finally knocked. His killer, Eric Holder, was handed a staggering 60-year prison sentence, bringing a long-awaited sense of closure to a tragedy that had haunted the streets of LA for years. But here's the wild part. Holder wasn't the only one paying the price. Word on the streets is that his whole family felt the fallout too. Recently, a video has been blowing up on social media, showing a woman from the rolling 60s in LA, straight from the heart of the neighborhood, spilling the tea. She talks about the intense retaliation that hit after Nipsey's murder.
They went and shot up this family house. They wiped out his whole family. Baby mama, granny. Them dead. Like, they went and did John's that same day.
Claiming that Holder's family got caught up in a series of brutal revenge acts that shook the city to its core. According to her, Holder made a catastrophic mistake by taking out one of the most respected and loved figures in hip-hop, totally forgetting that his own family would be exposed to retaliation. The streets were buzzing with chaos. And get this, around the same time, Nipsey's brother, Black Sam, sat down for an interview where he opened up about everything. Nip's life, their upbringing, and of course, the tragic day Nipsey was violently taken from the world. Toward the end of the interview, Sam got deeply emotional, sharing raw memories of that fateful 2019 day. He remembered rushing Nipsey to the hospital with hope in his heart, only to have that hope crushed when his brother didn't make it. He said it felt like entering the Twilight Zone, a world completely unrecognizable. Sam told Big Boy, "Everything I believed in, my faith, it was shattered."
Somebody like Nipsey and then leave your mama and them on the block in the 60s. You supposed to get them up out of there before you even went to scope the scene.
Big Boy then asked Black Sam if he really believed Nipsey's murder was as random as the media made it seem. That's when Sam dropped some heavy details about the security measures normally in place whenever Nip showed up at the Marathon store. He explained that usually someone would be posted at the doorway, armed and alert, keeping watch over the scene. "You're going to see me with a hoodie on and I got a pistol on me," he said. But on the day Nipsey was shot, something felt off. There was no one guarding the entrance, leaving Nipsey completely exposed and vulnerable, a shocking lapse that would cost the city one of its most beloved icons. Sam revealed chilling details about Holder's movements before the shooting. Holder apparently walked up to Nipsey shirtless, almost like he was casing the area. He noticed there was no security at the doorway, saw Nipsey in shorts, looking relaxed and unguarded, and then walked away, only to come back a few minutes later, this time rocking a red shirt. Sam pointed out that in their hood,
Couldn't understand it, man. It's like the Twilight Zone after that. Everything I believed in, or my faith in, shattered.
nobody wears red, and you can't even buy one at the local liquor store. He speculated that Holder deliberately used the red shirt as a distraction before slipping through the alley and opening fire on Nipsey. To Sam, it was crystal clear. This wasn't some random spur-of-the-moment act. This was cold, calculated, and premeditated. After that eye-opening interview, people started looking at the Nipsey Hussle case with fresh eyes. New details began surfacing, suggesting that while Holder may have been the one to pull the trigger, there were possibly others involved, watching, planning, maybe even helping orchestrate the attack. Clearly, there's a lot more beneath the surface of this tragedy, and the story is far from over. After Black Sam's interview, one name started popping up again in conversations: Big U, mainly because of his history of conflicts with Nipsey. According to the woman from the rolling 60s, who's been spilling her take on the situation, tensions between Nip and Big U began when Nipsey decided he wanted out of a deal with him, a move that would eventually fuel rumors, suspicions, and questions about who else might have been tied to that fateful day. Nipsey's push for independence stirred some serious bad blood, and many believe that tension could have played a part in his murder. In the days after his death, LA was buzzing with rumors about Big U's involvement. People speculated that with his influence in the neighborhood and history with Nip, he might have had a hand in what went down. This speaks to a bigger problem, a deep-rooted mistrust in communities when it comes to leadership figures and their true motives.
Doorway, when Hustle pull up, we in the doorway. You're gonna see me with a hoodie on, and I got a pistol on me. You're gonna see one of the team members in the hoodie in the doorway with a pistol. That's protocol. Why the niggas in there didn't follow the protocol? I wasn't there. Why they didn't follow it? Maybe they was around helping the customer, doing some customer service. This is what I'm thinking. Transition into some legitimate, just selling clothes. But nobody was in the doorway.
The woman in the video echoed these fears, wondering if the whole thing could have been an inside job. One of the biggest red flags for her? There were no weapons at the scene, even though it was a known dangerous area. She suggested it could have been gross negligence by those responsible for Nipsey's protection, or even worse, someone may have colluded with Holder to make sure it happened. She also confirmed what Black Sam said about Holder coming back multiple times before the shooting, and how nobody seemed to notice anything unusual. In her words, it's kind of like being on the block and seeing the same car roll by more than once. You know something's up, so you stay alert. But when Holder returned that day, nobody around Nipsey seemed to catch on that something was off. It was like people had let their guard down, almost too comfortable. Even though they were in a high-risk, dangerous environment, that lapse, she suggested, made Nipsey vulnerable in a way that shouldn't have happened. The woman didn't hold back her doubts about the official story of Nipsey's murder. She insisted it wasn't just a tragic case of being in the wrong place at the wrong time. From her perspective, it pointed to much bigger issues. Multiple people, not just Holder, were involved. Drawing from her own experiences with loved ones, she stressed that these kinds of events are rarely the work of a single person. In her eyes, while Holder may have been the one to pull the trigger, there were plenty of others behind the scenes, planning, watching, and orchestrating the chain of events that tragically led to Nipsey's death. She also shed light on what happened to Holder's family after the shooting. According to her, after Holder took out Nipsey, his entire family faced a brutal series of revenge attacks, wiped out one by one.
With no shirt on first, to check the scene, because he know what's going on in that parking lot. They say came back with a red shirt on, tiptoed through the alley, and went right and started shooting. So to me, that's premeditated. Number one, there's no red shirts in the hood.
She speculated that if Big U had truly orchestrated the whole thing, Holder might have spoken up by now, especially after losing so many of his own people. She admitted she wasn't sure if Holder was even smart enough to pull off something like this alone, which is why a lot of people still suspect Big U's involvement. No matter how many times Big U denies having anything to do with Nip's death, doubts keep swirling, especially now with this fresh wave of information coming to light. Everyone knows about the tension between Nipsey and Big U. Nipsey wanting out of their deal didn't sit well with him, and there were multiple heated disagreements, times when Big U pushed one way, but Nipsey wanted to chart a different course. So now people are left asking, was Holder really acting alone, or was there a bigger plan in motion? Then on March 31st, 2019, the tragic day that changed everything, Nipsey Hussle was killed. Holder was reportedly on a date with a woman who unknowingly became his getaway driver. He approached Nipsey outside the Marathon clothing store near the corner of Slauson Avenue and Crenshaw Boulevard. The two exchanged a few words before Holder walked away, only to return minutes later, armed with 2 handguns and open fire in the middle of the parking lot. Nipsey was killed and 2 other men were injured, leaving the community reeling in shock and grief. The entire attack was captured on camera, leaving zero doubt that Holder was the shooter. But when the trial started last year, Holder's defense attorney, Aaron Jansen, took a different angle. Instead of pushing for a murder charge, Jansen aimed for manslaughter. His argument? Holder wasn't thinking clearly after Nipsey supposedly hinted there might be paperwork on him.
Nipsey first popped off, when it first happened, Everybody in LA thought Big U snitched. We all thought that. We all did. We thought it was Big U when Nip died, because I remember Nip didn't want nothing to do with Big U. So when he got killed or whatever,
a term in the streets suggesting someone might have cooperated with the police. Both Eric and Nipsey were members of the Rolling 60s, a notorious LA street gang. And in that world, being labeled a snitch is one of the most serious accusations imaginable. Jansen claimed that for Holder, being called out like that, especially in front of other gang members, was a huge deal. This wasn't just a casual conversation between two friends catching up. It was public, it was personal, and it hit hard. During his closing argument, Jansen explained that the insult struck a nerve in Holder, triggering him to act out of pure rage. In gang culture, being branded a snitch can destroy your reputation, make people distrust you, and follow you forever. Holder, who was trying to build a name for himself as a rapper too, couldn't shake the weight of that label. According to Jansen, the combination of pride, street rules, and the public humiliation pushed Holder over the edge, turning a confrontation into a deadly attack that rocked LA and the hip-hop world. At one point, Nipsey had even signed Holder to his label as an up-and-coming artist. But after the snitch comment, Holder must have felt like his shot at ever making it or being accepted in the community was gone. Despite his lawyer's arguments, the prosecution had a very different theory. Deputy District Attorney John McKinn argued that the real motive wasn't just about being called a snitch. He believed Holder was fueled by jealousy. Nipsey had already skyrocketed to fame, and his 2018 album Victory Lap even scored a Grammy nomination. Meanwhile, Holder, rapping as Fly Mac, was nowhere near that level of success. A key prosecution witness, Douglas, took it further, calling Holder's claim that the paperwork comment made him fear for his life outdated thinking. In modern LA gang culture, he said, snitching isn't feared the way it once was. You can leave the 60s today and no one's going to touch you, Douglas explained. Maybe in the 80s it was different, but this is 2022. When that argument didn't land, Jansen tried a new angle, claiming Holder suffered from severe mental illness. He read a letter from Holder's father, revealing that Eric had been diagnosed with auditory schizophrenia at 19, often hearing voices that made him paranoid and erratic. Jansen even described an incident just 3 weeks before the shooting where Holder threw a heavy weight through a window during a manic episode, convinced someone was out to get him. When that didn't sway the jury either, Jansen made one final plea, showing a photo of the metal staples in Holder's head after he was attacked in jail by another inmate with a razor. He argued that Holder's future behind bars would already be a dangerous, brutal life, and asked for a reduced sentence of 28 years to life instead of the maximum 60.
That was one to put the trigger, but it was actually two. But at the same time, it was like 15, 10 niggas involved. So that's the same thing with like Nip, bro. I felt like shit. It wasn't just he was just a shooter, bro. It was more than that. Like it was more than involved. He was just a shooter.
During the trial, Holder's attorney told TMZ that Eric had been attacked by 2 people while in a holding cell, requiring 3 staples to close the wound. Jansen begged the court to consider just how perilous life would be for someone who killed an icon like Nipsey Hussle, arguing that Holder's prison sentence would be a short, violent, and dangerous existence. Jansen explained that Holder had already been hit with multiple death threats. He'd been beaten up and kept in isolation, and every time the sheriff's office moved him, the entire floor had to go on lockdown just to keep him safe. People in the gang community, and even some of Nipsey's fans, openly said that if they had the chance, they would have taken Holder's life themselves to avenge Nip. With a 60-year prison sentence looming, it was clear Holder would face extreme danger behind bars. But none of that seemed to sway the court. TMZ reported that Holder had been arrested in the LA suburb of Bellflower around 12:50 a.m. on the 9,000 block of Aria Boulevard. LAPD confirmed his identity at the scene. Meanwhile, the woman who had driven Holder away from the shooting eventually turned herself in. Her name wasn't released at first, but she insisted she had no idea Holder had just killed Nipsey when she picked him up. According to her, she drove him to the Marathon store, waited in an alley, and he never said a word about what had just happened. Once the shooting video hit the internet, social media quickly identified the shooter as Eric Holder, a wannabe rapper also known as Shia Cuz and Fly Mac. His neck tattoo made it clear he was the man in the footage. Holder's criminal history started to surface. In 2009, domestic violence and battery charges were dismissed. In 2011, He had minor offenses like driving without a license, and in 2012, he was caught with a loaded firearm and a concealed weapon, pleading guilty to one charge and receiving 3 years probation plus 180 days in LA County Jail. By 2015, he had a probation violation hearing, but nothing compared to what he faced now. In the end, Holder was sentenced to 60 years to life in prison. He was convicted of first-degree murder for Nipsey's death and 2 counts of attempted voluntary manslaughter for the other men he injured in the shooting. Those men survived, but the charges stuck. Dressed in his orange jail jumpsuit, Holder stared straight ahead, showing no emotion as the judge read the sentence. Count 1 alone was 50 years to life, with a total of 60 years to life. The court noted the harsh reality. Holder had taken the life of a man who had become a pillar in his community. Nipsey wasn't just a rapper, he was a leader, an entrepreneur, and someone deeply committed to giving back. He had invested in Destination Crenshaw, a $13 million outdoor art and culture experience celebrating Black Los Angeles, and was a key investor in Vector 90, a professional co-working space in Crenshaw that bridged Silicon Valley and the inner city while offering STEM classes for local youth. Nipsey had plans to expand these spaces to cities like Atlanta, Washington, D.C., and other underserved communities across the country. In interviews, he shared how he wanted to change the destructive narratives pushed in music for his generation and leave a lasting positive legacy for the next one. After his death, hundreds flocked to the scene in Los Angeles to pay respects. The crowd became so large that it caused a stampede, injuring multiple people. Even though Nipsey's life was tragically cut short, his legacy continues to thrive through his work, his vision, and the profound impact he left on the community he loved so much. If you want more deep dives into stories like this, make sure to like, share, and subscribe for all the latest celebrity and hip-hop updates.